Good afternoon, students. Today I am discussing the next topic of Unit 4, that is related with the convergence and divergence in personal management. Here we have to understand the convergence and divergence are the two important factors in international human resource management. So first of all, we will discuss what is convergence and divergence as per the PPT. According to Brester et al., who has discussed first about convergence and divergence, the effectiveness of global HRM depend on the ability to judge the extent to which an organization should implement similar practices across the world, that is related to the convergence. A convergence means that when all the companies who are working on the global level having the similar policies, similar practices, similar strategies of implementing in their business, or to adapt them to social suit local conditions, that is divergence. So what prevails at the local level is called divergence, and when companies are having the same equal policies, procedures, strategies at the global level is comes under the convergence. The dilemma facing all multinational corporations is that of achieving a balance between international consistency and local autonomy. So first of all, we have to understand what is convergence and divergence in detail. So students, let me tell you, nowadays there is an increasingly concern about convergence and divergence factor over HRM practices in MNCs that expandly across the globe. Across the globe means the companies which are doing their business in the multinational companies. With regard to convergence approach, it is generally accepted that universality of sound management practices would lead to societies and countries becoming more and more alike and interlinked. The companies which are working in the different global level, they have to be alike, they have to be interlinked with each other on the basis of the policy and the strategies which they are implementing at the global level. On the other hand, according to divergence approach, company will try to adopt its strategy with different host country context in order to sustain its business continually in different companies. So students, this is basically what is convergence and what is divergence. It as per we first of all we will discuss it as per the tradition management. Also, there is a natural tendency for managerial tradition in the parent company to shape the nature to key decisions. Okay, most of the decisions depend upon the parent company only, which a company has to do the business in the local market, but there are strong arguments of giving as much local autonomy as possible in order to ensure that local requirements are sufficiently taken into account. Hence the mantra think global but act nationally. This lead to the fundamental assumptions. See what the company has to do. Company has to give the full autonomy, full values to the local strategies. Yes, they have to implement their global perspective. Their management can be global, but the practices to run in the business should be local enough. Factor affecting convergence and divergence. So there are different factors. Now we will start from number one, the extent to which there are well defined local norms. How many local norms and up to which extent they are performing in the organization. The degree to which an operating unit is embedded in the local environment. The strength of the flow of resources like financial, information and people, which is called IT, between the parent and the subsidiary companies. The orientation of the parent to control, up to which extent the parent company is having the command over the company which is prevailing in the host country. The nature of the industry, the extent to which it's primarily a domestic industry at the local level. This is very important. The specific organizational competencies including HRM that are critical for achieving competitive advantage in the global environment. See, if we want to take the advantage in the global environment at the global level, so first we have to tackle our HRM in the same form. We have to make them understand that yes, you have to perform now globally to have the business from the host country also. Here we have to take the example of MACD. See, when the first MACD came into the India, they not make the strategy as per the India. What they were doing, they are essentially what they are doing in the India was essentially what they are doing in the same over the world. But the customers in India has not accepted their product. But after some time, when they come with the strategies to cater the local need of the customers, then customers move to their product, customer accept their products, and then they succeed themselves in the local market. Expatriates क्या होते हैं? Expatriates are the people who are working overseas, who are working in the other countries in the different companies on the short term contract, and maybe contract maybe large also, and they are working in the parent company or the third country, which is called TCN. Okay, nation of the country, and other than parent, who work abroad in subsidiaries of that company. Expatriate are the people working overseas on long or short term contracts, who can be national of the parent company or third country nations, or nations of the country other than the parent country, who work abroad in subsidiaries of that company. The management of expatriates is a major factor determining success or failure in an international business. Yes, it is a very expensive affair of having the expatriates in the different companies. Now, recruitment and selection policies. Policies for recruitment and selection should deal with specifying recruitment, providing realistic purview, and preparation of overseas assignments. Role specification. Role specification should take note of behavior required for those who work internationally. Recognize the diversity of overseas countries. Accept difference between countries as a fact and adjust to these difference effectively. Tolerate and adjust to local conditions. Yes, we have to try it. Our role should be like that, that we have to make ourselves adjust to the local conditions of the company. Sometimes it's happened also that some companies, before sending their employee as an expatriate into the different company, they provide them PDT, that is pre-departure training, to make them adjust, to make them cope with the local conditions, cope in the long term with the large variety of foreign context, manage local operation and personnel abroad effectively. Gain acceptance as a representative of one company's abroad. Yes, we have to understand ourselves as a representative of one's company in the abroad, and we have to perform accordingly. Obtain and interpret information about foreign national context. Inform and communicate effectively with a foreign environment about the home company policy. Identifying and accept adjustments, a basic product specification in order to meet the need of the foreign market. Develop element of a common framework for company strategy, policy and operations. Accept that the practices that will operate best in an overseas environment will not necessarily be the same as the company home practices. Now, preparation policy for overseas assignment should include the provision of cultural familiarization for the countries in which the expatriate will work, the preferred approach to leading and working in an international teams, and the business and HR policies that will apply. So these all are the prevention policies. Now, the training policy. Training policy, Tariq and Caligari propose that following steps should be taken to design a training program for expatriates. Number one, identifying the type of global assignments. What type of global assignment is given to an employee, like technical, functional, tactical, development or strategic executive. Conduct a cross-cultural training needs. Analyze covering organizational analysis and requirements. Establish training goals and measures, like cognitive है या affective है. Yes, very true. About cultural and increasing confidence. Develop the program and evaluate the training given. PDT is very requirement. We have to analyze what training is being given to them. तो हमें उसका post evaluation करना is also very necessary कि what is being provided to them is being implemented or not. Career management policy. Special attention has to be paid to managing the career of expatriate at the part of their experience overseas, or no return permanently or for a period to their home country. We have to manage their career. We have to make the policies. Assimilation and review policy. Assimilation policy will provide the adaptation of expatriate to overseas post and their progress in them to be monitored and reviewed. Assimilation means we have to monitor, we have to review whatever the employee is doing in the abroad will be as per their career demand, as per their career need, it will be help in the progression of their career or not. This may take the form of conventional performance management process. As we do performance management review in our country, same we have to do in the abroad also, and to have the additional information which is provide on the potential and ability of an individual, what he has learned and what he is performing in the abroad. Re-entry policy should be designed to minimize the problem that can arise with the expatriate return to their parent company after an overseas posting. कि जब वो re-entry करेगा तो whether they have the scope of doing the re-entry in the management, whether they have different scopes to be prove themselves in the host country again. So we have to make the positions for them. Pay and allowance policy should also be very clear, like what employee is earning in the host country, in the third country nation, and what the employee will be in the home country. It will be different to different. Okay, the convergence and divergence not only represent different way in which the international HRM is conducted, but also reflect different tradition through which HRM is explored. See, convergence and divergence can also be stated as universal and conceptual paradigm. Like university paradigm concentrate on the management of HRM across various national borders. That is the HR practices and policy that can be transferred from one country to another by believing that those which worked well in one country will work in other country as well. On the other hand, the contextual paradigm lead to the necessity of considering all organizational, international and external factors. Home-based pay. The home-based pay approach aims to ensure that value of the remuneration or of expatriate is the same as in their home country. The home-based salary may be a national one or for long assignments. Okay, for short terms assignment, it may be actual salary of the individual. The national or actual home-based salary is used as the foundation upon which total remuneration package is built. Same or all of the following allowances may be added to the salary: incentive to work abroad premium, hardship and location, housing and utilities, school fees to their wards, rest and recuperation leaves is also being provided to them. Host-based pay approach provided expatriates with salary and benefits such as company cars and holidays that are in the line with those given to the national of the host country in the similar job. This method ensures equity between expatriate and host country nationals. It is adopted by companies using so-called market rate system, which ensure that the salary of expatriate match the market level to pay in the host country. So students, this much for convergence and divergence. We will meet in the next topic in another video. Thanks very much.